Then sports reporters, let's talk more about Caitlin Clark's absence and the impact it's having on the league. Even in Indiana, it will have a big impact. When one player is carrying the entire WNBA like a broken refrigerator up a fifth floor walk-up, things get heated. Clark has essentially taken on the role of the league's main character, the plot twist, and the only reason half of the nation is aware that the WNBA still exists. The TV ratings, human beings would be clinging to Caitlin like a koala on espresso. What I'm interested in is what someone asked me about on Twitter earlier today, and I want to show you right now. Please post this tweet so that our audience can see it. For Jinbuchi BCI, right Stephen A. Smith, can the WNBA keep itself afloat while CCS and Caitlin Clark is out, end quote. We're talking record-breaking eyebrow-raising executives, popping champagne TV numbers, what the WNBA probably thought was extinct, suddenly people who, if Caitlin's presence is pure gold, the WNBA brass is over here trying to trade it in for expired Chuck E. Cheese tokens to be here with you guys today. The ratings are out for the Indiana Fever versus New York Liberty game and Caitlin Clark's most memorable game. I hadn't seen a women's basketball game since Lisa Leslie dunked, and I could hear remote controls all over the country getting arthritis from how often they flipped to watch Caitlin's recent game on cable TV. And in an attempt to sell tickets to tonight's game, the WNBA pulled out a yoga mat instead of the red carpet and declared, "Make do flights and economy a schedule that makes coal miners wuss and treatment that's one cardigan short of elderly neglect." Caitlin Clark is not only surpassing expectations, but she is doing so while being side-eyed by envious teammates and having her shoulder checked by players acting like it's WrestleMania. Imagine what the league does for everyone else if this is how it treats its one cash cow. Now that she's hurt, the silence is suddenly deafening, and I won't take my eyes off what happens with the WNBA over the next 2 weeks while Caitlin Clark is out with a quad strain. The reason for this is that, let me tell you something right now, I won't go to the extent of saying that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark or that other players feel the same way. Caitlin Clark, but I will say this. I don't think it's specifically about Caitlin Clark, rather I think it's about what Caitlin Clark stands for. She bowled at Iowa in college and she's been bowling since she joined the NBA. She entered the league last year with no time off between her college and professional games, and she did her thing, becoming an all-star, finishing fourth in the league's MVP voting, winning Rookie of the Year with no competition at all. When all was said and done, we know what she brings to the table. However, Caitlin Clark just injured her hamstring and will be out for the next 2 weeks, which includes 2 road games, one of which is against the Chicago Sky and Angel Reese, with whom she has a very heated rivalry. 2 days ago, the cheapest ticket to enter the Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever game cost $86. Now it is only $25. This is also against the same person who claimed that the reason people watch the WNBA is because she talks about Angel Reese, but she is unable to even maintain ticket prices. The teams Caitlin Clark was scheduled to play against over the next 2 weeks have already rented out a larger stadium due to the large number of people they anticipated attending. And since the WNBA only has about 40 games, she is missing a significant amount of time. You guys could almost hear the panic starting it, with one sprained ankle and everyone rushing around like they just dropped a baby in a swimming pool. The WNBA is missing more than just her highlights. It is missing relevance without Caitlin. Instead, it is returning to gymnasiums that reverberate like church halls, and attendance is so low that you can hear players' thoughts. Without Caitlin, the WNBA is once again trying to sell water in a rainstorm. Boy, WNBA fans, you're screwed. Take a look at how low the WNBA ratings will be for the next 2 weeks. If it weren't for Caitlin Clark in the first place, no one would watch the league. Now that she's injured, who in the world would watch a WNBA game without the biggest star the sport has ever seen? It will be hilarious in the coming weeks when these ABC stations, TNT and ESPN, realize how low the ratings are without Caitlin Clark. You run a player into the ground, schedule back-to-back games like it's a punishment, and then act surprised when she goes down. In the meantime, social media is in full mourning mode with comment sections that look like memorials. People are not just sad, they're angry because they knew this was going to happen. All the players will be thinking, oh wow, we actually need Caitlin Clark to play in these games for us to try to make money. Folds their arms and acts as though she's just lucky to be there. Spoiler alert, Caitlin Clark's games have outperformed every other matchup this season by ridiculous margins. When she plays, the lights are brighter, the crowd is louder, the sponsors are happier, and the popcorn is 30 When she doesn't, the drop-off is so dramatic that it's essentially a cliff dive television show. Caitlin Clark's absence from the WNBA for at least 2 weeks before her reevaluation means that they may not see numbers like this for a while. The next Indiana Fever vs Chicago Sky game is scheduled for June 7th, and I believe that will be on CBS as well. Without Caitlin, the ratings look like a broken EKG flat, and kind of embarrassing, even the fans admit it. I believe that will draw it too. I can guarantee you that it won't draw more than 2 million. In response, the WNBA throws Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest draw in recent years, into the lion's den with a target on her back and a neon sign that reads, "Please foul me," repeatedly. The Wolves, by which we mean defenders, do this with the tact and grace of a demolition crew on a caffeine bender. As if overplaying a rookie in the most physical league imaginable is somehow a growth strategy, her minutes have been stretched thinner than cheap spandex. It's adorable that the referees are practically giving out coupons for one free hard foul. And now that she's hurt, the league is doing the traditional shrug and pivot, looking around the room in anticipation of the next headline generator. However, isn't one, because the moment Caitlin hit the floor clutching her injury, the momentum that had been, the WNBA gambled on her star power without protecting the investment. Now they're learning the hard way that you don't build a league by breaking your brightest star. We need her to play for us to get views. Maybe we should stop hurting her, and maybe they'll finally realize that they need Caitlin Clark. I mean, I can't believe we even have to talk about this thing, that she's even biggest star in the sport. You're crazy. This girl not only leads her team, but she leads her sport and league. You're going to learn this now. Speaking of the Indiana Fever, if you thought they didn't notice Caitlin's absence right away, you're totally wrong. Their most recent game against the Washington Mystics was a terrible sight, like watching a chicken attempt to pilot a jet ski. It was chaotic and confused, and they didn't even come close to winning any awards. The Fever dropped that 18-37-7, and you could practically taste. The players appeared to be desperate for Caitlin to jump out of a Gatorade cooler and perform a miracle save, but that didn't happen. The Fever without Caitlin is like a pizza without cheese. Sure, but it's also incredibly disappointing. The offense moved more slowly than dial-up internet in the era of fiber optics, and the defense was more absent than a sitcom dad who forgot to show up. Dots were missed as if they were allergic to the basket. There were many issues with this game, but on the basketball side of things, the Indiana Fever's interior defense was particularly bad, and if you watched the game, you saw them give up. The rhythm was completely off, the spacing was tragic, and the energy picture trying to power a roller coaster with a single AA battery just doesn't cut it. It's a harsh reminder that sometimes one player can truly make or break the entire team. Since Caitlin Clark wasn't playing, they decided, you know what, since Caitlin Clark isn't playing, we're not even going to try. We know we're going to lose. It was absolutely awful to watch. This was a game you could have won against the league's youngest team, and you're playing against a bunch of rookies. I believe that Boston looked like a cone down there. I haven't seen a team play that bad interior defense in a long time. There was a Caitlin-sized void in this game that no amount of hustle or grit could fill. You can't just replace that kind of presence with sheer effort alone. The Indiana Fever, mind you, lost by 2 points to the New York Liberty, the team that won the championship the previous year without Caitlin Clark. However, it's not that they look trash and are boring to watch. Everyone gave it their all. The team appeared to be struggling to fill the Caitlin-shaped hole with a collective "we got this." That sounded more like a pleading whisper than a battle cry, but it was a team effort. There was no one to create those clutch opportunities that turned the tide when things looked bleak, and most importantly, no one ignited that intangible spark that keeps a team believing deep into the fourth quarter. There was a performance that practically cried out, "Please come back," louder than a romantic comedy act holding a boombox outside your window. Desperate, hopeful, and painfully obvious. Meanwhile, the Mystics came out smelling blood, and they didn't just win, they absolutely feasted. It was like watching a school of piranhas stumble upon a single vulnerable This Fever team, without Caitlin, played hard in the fourth quarter of almost every game they've played, and they're selfless. Move the ball, they cut hard, they play well together, and they kept coming at us. We had breakdowns occasionally, and their physicality and coverages against us seemed to throw us off balance, especially in the second half. Obviously, you guys had to adapt without Caitlin as well. Is there anything you could identify with today's offensive problem? I mean, not having any points in transition. One that's obvious is Caitlin's ability to find rim runners and get the ball up the floor. We need to improve there and not rely as much on dribble handoffs and ball screen. I know we discussed this pregame. They detected weakness and took advantage of it with brutal efficiency. They pushed the pace, attacked every mismatch, and essentially treated the Fever like a practice squad performing drills and mentally increasing the score. It was painfully obvious that without Caitlin, this Fever team was lacking the creative drive and was incomplete. The scoreboard displayed a somewhat respectable 83-7-7, but that number hardly conveyed the story. The game itself was more of a demolition job disguised in a close scoreline. The Mystics were always one step ahead, moving like they had seen every play before it even happened. The Fever looked like students desperately trying to catch up in a pop quiz with the answers already written on the board. This was an embarrassing game. Stephanie White was down 12 points with 20 seconds remaining, and with 6 seconds remaining, she called a timeout. She also brought an inspirational heart, and while they fought hard, the Mystics' hunger served as a brutal reminder that sometimes a missing piece can turn a fight into a surrender, regardless of how much you want to believe otherwise. An embarrassing performance by the Indiana Fever, and now that she's hurt, the team and the league are trapped in a strange state of regret and denial. You can practically hear the boardroom meetings. Perhaps we should have given her some time to recover. Perhaps it wasn't a great idea to schedule 10 games in 14 days. Maybe players are human, but in retrospect, it's a really snarky friend, isn't it? The worst part is that even though Caitlin Clark is injured, it's the Caitlin effect, which is unquestionably unreplicable, and she's sitting on the bench with ice on her leg. The league believed it could ride the wave without respecting the ocean, but when the tide goes out, you're just a bunch of stranded beach chairs. She's not even on the court, and she's still outshining every active player. The fans are tweeting, the media is salivating, and the entire sports world is refreshing their feeds for injury updates. It's great to be here with you guys today, as the Indiana Fever lose to a young Washington Mystics team 83-77. Without Caitlin Clark, they look lost. If this isn't a huge wake-up call to the WNBA, then they're napping harder than Sleeping Beauty on Ambient with noise-canceling headphones and feeling like they can grow as a team while their best player held the entire playbook together with duct tape and prayer. Blackout curtains treat your stars like stars, or get ready to see your ratings drop faster than the last time you watched a nationally televised game. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player on the team. She played a pivotal role in bringing attention to the league and garnering headlines from a brand new audience across a league that was in dire need of it. She put the WNBA back on the map, but now it's blank once more, and everyone is acting shocked that the league has been given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Here's a spoiler: you can't hide a supernova behind a desk lamp. If Caitlin Clark doesn't return soon, you'll be left with empty arenas, confused sponsors, and fans wondering why they bothered to tune in. The WNBA is handling this generation opportunity with the enthusiasm of someone who just got jury duty. So go ahead and keep acting like she's just another rookie, trotting out the tired lines about team balance and shared spotlight. If you're one of the haters who spent time loudly insisting that Caitlin Clark was overrated, then congratulations are in order. The Indiana Fever did not look good without her, and I suppose that would be an understatement. I mean, it's not that surprising to see the Fever drop off without Clark, this Caitlin Clark effect if you will, because the majority of the time people talk about how she affected interest or economics, but all of that is based on her skills as a basketball player. It's like watching a movie without the main actor still playing, but no one is paying attention anymore. Clark didn't just bring her game, she brought the spotlight, the fans, and the pulse that made the league feel alive. Now the WNBA looks like a before and after ad for what happens when you take star power away from a sport. Oh, the sweet, humbling sting of being proven gloriously wrong, because the moment she stepped off that court, it wasn't just noticeable, it was seismic. Fighting for widespread recognition isn't a reflection on the other players in the league, rather it's evidence of how much Caitlin Clark transformed the game. She didn't just join the WNBA, she revitalized it. Now that she's temporarily gone, the contrast is unavoidable, so feel free to continue calling her overrated, knowing that you're doing it while sitting in a quiet room with all the excitement gone.